I'm not the kind of person who believes in signs. I don't read meaning into streetlights flickering or think a bad dream predicts anything. I work, I pay rent, I sleep. That's my religion. Which is why I still don't have a clean explanation for what happened on a Tuesday night in early winter. Other than this, someone knocked on my door at 3 a.m., and I never opened it. And that one choice is the only reason I'm writing this. It started like any other day that disappears into another. I came home late from a shift that ran longer than it should have. The stairwell smelled like damp concrete and old detergent. Someone on the third floor had burned something again. Toast or plastic? It was always one of the two. My building isn't fancy, but it's not a horror movie ruin either. It's a mid-rise block with a lobby camera, a buzzer system that only works when it wants to, and neighbors who exist mostly as footsteps above you or a door that closes down the hall. I live alone in Unit 4B. That detail matters because when you live alone, you know the sounds your place makes. You learn the way the pipes tick when the heat comes on, the little sigh the fridge makes when it starts up, the soft, settling crack the floorboards do around midnight. Normal noises become a kind of language. That night, I did my routine on autopilot, microwave dinner, scroll until my eyes felt gritty, brush my teeth, lock the deadbolt, then check it again, because I always do. I remember the exact click of metal. I remember my hand on the knob, testing it. Locked. I went to bed sometime after 1. I woke up because my phone buzzed, one of those silent vibrations that still feel like a mosquito landing on your skin. 0300. No notification, no new message, just the time on the lock screen, glowing in the dark like an accusation. I rolled over to face the wall, irritated at my own brain for snapping awake so easily. I was half asleep again when the knock came. 3 taps. Not a casual, oops, wrong door knock. Not a pounding emergency either. Controlled. Measured. Like the person had decided exactly how loud they wanted to be. I sat up immediately. All the sleep drained out of my body like someone pulled a plug. I listened. Silence. Then another 3 taps. My first thought was a neighbor. A water leak. A misunderstanding. Some drunken person on the wrong floor. My second thought was the one that made my stomach go cold. Nobody knocks on someone's door at 3 in the morning unless they want something. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe right. I stared at my bedroom door as if it could explain what was happening. 3 more taps. I stood up quietly and crossed the bedroom on bare feet, careful to avoid the floorboard that squeaks near the dresser. I didn't turn on any lights. I didn't want whoever was out there to know I was awake. Not yet. I stopped in the hallway, close enough to my front door that I could see the faint line of light beneath it, dim from the emergency bulb in the corridor. My peephole was the old kind, slightly warped, making the hallway look like it curves. I leaned in. At first, I thought no one was there. The hallway looked empty, just the opposite apartment's door, a fire extinguisher cabinet, and the bulletin board with the same torn flyers. Then I noticed the shadow. Not a person exactly. More like a darker patch within the darkness, standing close to my door, just out of the peephole's center. Whoever it was knew how peepholes worked. They weren't standing directly in front of it. They were just slightly to the side. That made my mouth go dry. Another knock. This time it was closer to the peephole, almost like they were leaning in too. I backed away. "Who is it?" I asked,
and hated how small my voice sounded in my own apartment. No answer. I tried again, louder. Who is it? Still nothing. Then, softly, a voice came through the door. Not muffled, not strained, calm, like they were speaking normally.
I'm sorry to bother you. The voice sounded ordinary. Male, maybe late 20s or 30s. No slurring, no panic, just polite. I need to use your phone, he continued. Mine died. My brain tried to align the words with a safe explanation. A visitor stranded. Someone locked out. It almost worked. But the hallway had cameras. The lobby had a desk during the day. There were other doors, other neighbors. If you needed help, why choose mine? Why at 3? I didn't answer. He knocked again, twice, lighter. I'm not a threat, he said, like he could read my silence. I need to call someone, please. There was a pause. Then his tone changed. Still polite, but with a thin edge under it, like a wire. It's cold out here. I stared at the deadbolt. I didn't know what to do, and that's not something I'm used to admitting. I'm usually the person who makes decisions. But at 3 a.m, your brain is slower. Your instincts are louder. I took my phone from the nightstand and held it in my hand, thumb hovering over the emergency call button. I didn't press it yet. I didn't want to escalate something that might be harmless. I moved back to the peephole and looked again. Still that patch of shadow. Careful. Off-center. He hadn't moved. Then I saw something else. A second shadow, lower, near the floor, further down the hall. At first I thought it was a bag. Then it shifted, just slightly, like a knee adjusting, like someone crouching. My skin tightened. There were 2 of them. I stepped away from the door so fast I nearly tripped over my own feet. My heart started beating hard enough to make my vision pulse. They weren't there for a phone. They were there because my door was between them and whatever they wanted. And whatever they wanted was inside. I didn't make a sound. I went into the kitchen, keeping low, and grabbed the heaviest thing I had. An iron skillet. Ridiculous, I know. But when you're scared, you reach for anything that feels solid. I stood in the dark kitchen listening. The voice came again, softer now. Too soft. I can hear you. Every muscle in my body locked. I hadn't made a sound. I hadn't moved. I hadn't even swallowed. How could he hear me? Unless he was guessing. Unless he was listening for the kind of silence that only happens when someone is trying very hard not to exist. He knocked again. This time the knocks weren't measured. They were uneven, like a signal. Tap, tap. Pause. Tap. I heard a faint scrape in the hallway, like fabric brushing carpet, like a shoe turning. Then the voice returned, closer to the door than before. You don't have to open it, he said. My throat tightened. You just have to unlock it. I felt a cold bloom behind my ribs. That wasn't a request. It was instruction. I backed up until my shoulders hit the refrigerator. I glanced at my phone. My fingers were shaking so badly I had to grip it with both hands. I dialed 911. It rang once, twice. Then the call dropped. No signal. That made no sense. I had bars. I'd never had reception issues in my apartment. I tried again. No signal. My phone still showed a faint connection icon, but the call wouldn't place. A text message went through, delayed, to my friend Mark. 2 words. Call me. It sat there, with no delivered mark. I stared at it, trying to make my brain accept what my body already had. This wasn't normal. The knocking stopped. For a few seconds there was nothing. And in that nothing I became aware of another sound. Faint, almost too soft to notice. A low hum, like an appliance far away. Like a vibration inside the walls. Then came the sound that changed everything. A key, turning in my lock. Not fully. Just a gentle test. A jiggle. Like someone had inserted something and was feeling for the pins. My mind went blank. I moved, fast and silent, back toward the door. The skillet was slick in my sweaty hand. The lock clicked. One of those tiny metallic clicks that shouldn't be loud, but suddenly was. Then the voice whispered through the door. "Not this one." It wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to the person trying the key. My mouth went dry again. They had keys, or copies, or something like it. The low hum in the walls seemed to deepen, like the building itself was holding its breath. Then there was a new sound. The elevator, somewhere down the hall. The soft, mechanical whine of it, moving. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it in the way the hallway acoustics changed. The voice at my door went still. Someone else was awake. The elevator dinged. Footsteps entered the hall. Heavy, steady, unhurried. A deep voice carried down the corridor, clear and sharp. "Police! Step away from the door." I froze. Police? At 3? Had someone called them? Had a neighbor heard the knocking? Or had the building's camera triggered something? In the peephole, I saw movement. Quick, panicked. The shadow at the floor shifted. The one by my door jerked back. A flashlight beam flashed across the hallway. "Hands where I can see them," the deep voice barked. For a second, relief flooded me so hard, I almost cried. Then, the polite voice, the one that had been speaking to me, spoke again, louder, pleading now. "Officer, thank God, this guy won't open the door. I'm locked out. I just need help." A beat. The deep voice responded colder. "Sir, don't move." I couldn't see the officer clearly through the peephole. The angle was wrong, but I could see the flashlight and part of a uniform sleeve as he stepped into view. Then something happened that didn't fit. The polite voice laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not a relieved laugh. A small, private laugh, like he'd just confirmed something. And the deep voice, still in command, said something that made my blood run cold. "Unit 4B, if you're inside, do not open the door." My hand tightened around the skillet. The officer knew. He knew this wasn't a lost phone situation. The polite voice's tone shifted again. Back to calm. Back to controlled. "It's okay," he said. But he wasn't speaking to the officer anymore. He was speaking to me. "We'll try again tomorrow." The words hit like a threat that pretended to be patience. There was a scuffle, fast footsteps, a thud, the sharp crack of something against the wall. The flashlight beam whipped wildly. Then another voice shouted from the far end of the hall. "He's running!" The elevator dinged again. More footsteps, multiple pairs now, pounding, chasing. Then silence. Just like that, it was over. I stood there, unmoving, for a full minute, waiting for the next sound, the next knock, the next attempt at the lock. My heart beat so hard it hurt. A softer knock came. One single knock. Careful. Professional. Then, the deep voice spoke again, closer to my door now. "Sir, it's the police. Are you okay in there?" I didn't answer right away. My brain replayed everything too fast. It felt like a trap. Like the polite voice could imitate the officer. Like the whole hallway could be theater. "Sir," the officer repeated, "I need you to respond. Don't open the door. Just speak." My voice cracked when I finally forced it out. "I'm here." A pause, like he exhaled. Good. Don't open the door yet. Keep it locked. What's happening? I asked. The officer didn't answer directly. Do you have a second lock? A chain? Yes. Engage it. I did, hands shaking, sliding the chain into place, even though the door was already locked. It felt like a child's toy against whatever had just been outside. Okay, the officer said. Now step back from the door. I obeyed. From the hallway, the officer continued, lower now, like he didn't want his voice traveling. Are you alone? Yes. Did you see them? Just shadows. 2 people. Did they say your name? I hesitated. No. He was quiet for a moment. Then, do you know anyone who would come here at this hour? Anyone who has a key? No. Nobody. Another pause. We've had reports, he said finally. In the area. People knocking. Trying doors. Pretending to need help. My stomach churned. So they were just... He cut me off. They were trying to get inside. The bluntness of it made my knees weak. How did you know? I asked. We saw them on the building camera, he replied. They've been moving from floor to floor. They target units where the occupant is alone. My grip on the skillet loosened slightly, but the fear stayed, anchored. Are you sure they're gone? I asked. I'm not sure of anything at 3 a.m, the officer said, and there was something almost human in that honesty. But we have units searching the stairwell and the back exit. I swallowed. My phone, I couldn't call. A beat. Your phone couldn't call? No signal. It just dropped. The officer was quiet long enough that my skin prickled. That happened to you too? I asked. His answer came slowly. We've heard that from other residents. That didn't make sense. A building doesn't lose signal because someone knocks on a door. Unless it was coincidence. Unless my brain had made it up. Unless it wasn't my phone. Unless it was my perception. Sir, the officer said, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Okay. Before they knocked, did you receive any message? Any notification? Anything that woke you? I looked down at my phone again. The screen was dark. When I tapped it, the lock screen lit up. 0300. Still. No minutes had passed. My throat tightened. Yes, my phone buzzed. But there was nothing. The officer exhaled. All right. Keep your door locked. We'll come back around to take a statement once the hallway's clear. I wanted to ask 100 questions. Why me? How long had they been doing this? What would have happened if I opened the door? But all I could manage was, thank you. His voice softened. You did the right thing by not opening it. Footsteps moved away. The flashlight beam disappeared from the peephole. I stood in the dim hallway of my apartment, still holding the skillet, listening for any sound that proved the world was normal again. There was none. Eventually I returned to bed, but sleep didn't come. Every creak of the building made me flinch. Every change in the wind outside made me imagine footsteps in the corridor. Around dawn, I must have drifted off, because I woke up to sunlight crawling across the wall. My phone showed 8:14. The world had moved forward again. For a while I convinced myself it was over, a close call, a crime avoided, a story that would become one of those remember when conversations you tell at parties to make people lean in. Then I found the first thing that made it not feel over. On the outside of my front door, where the paint meets the metal plate, there was a smudge, like someone had pressed a thumb against it. a faint streak of gray, too low to be accidental. Beside it, near the edge of the frame, there was something else, a thin line, almost invisible, as if someone had drawn lightly with a pencil. 3 short marks, stacked vertically. I stared at them for a long time, trying to decide if they'd been there before. They hadn't. I wiped at the smudge. It smeared, then disappeared. But the 3 marks stayed, etched into the paint like a scratch. That afternoon, I went to the building manager, a woman named Lena, who always smelled like peppermint and had the permanent look of someone who'd been interrupted. When I told her what happened, she nodded too quickly, too practiced. "Yes," she said. "The police spoke to me. They're handling it." "Do you have the camera footage?" I asked. "We can't give that out," she replied immediately. "Can I at least see it?" Her expression tightened. "It's an ongoing investigation." I leaned forward. They were at my door, at my unit. I deserved to know what they looked like. Lena's eyes flicked to the lobby camera above us, then back to me. "They didn't look like anything," she said, and her voice had an odd flatness. "What does that mean?" She swallowed. "It's just, you're not the first." My mouth went dry. "Not the first what?" She lowered her voice. "Not the first person they've tried." "Who are they?" Lena hesitated, then shook her head, like she regretted opening her mouth. "Listen," she said, forcing her tone back into polite professionalism. "Just keep your door locked. Don't open it for anyone you don't know, and if it happens again, call the police." "It happened at 3 a.m., I said. "My phone didn't work." She blinked. "Phones work. Mine didn't." She held my gaze for a second too long, then looked away. "Maybe your service was down," she said, too casually. "It happens." I left the lobby with a knot in my chest. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on my couch with every light on, the TV playing something mindless, the volume low enough that I could still hear the hallway. Nothing happened. The next night the same. By the 3rd night, I started to believe it really had been a one-time thing. Criminals testing doors, spooked by police. The end. Then, on the 4th night, at 2:59 a.m., my phone buzzed. 1 vibration. No notification. I stared at it, frozen. The lock screen glowed. 2:59. I waited, breath shallow. 3, and the knock came. 3 taps. Controlled. Measured. Exactly the same. My body went cold in a way that wasn't just fear. It was recognition. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I didn't go to the peephole. The knock came again. 3 taps. Then the voice, polite, calm, through the door. "I'm sorry to bother you." I squeezed my eyes shut. No. Not again. Not the same script. Not the same timing. I forced myself to move, but only enough to reach my phone. I didn't try calling. I opened the camera app instead, hands shaking, and aimed it at the door. I started recording. The voice continued, same as before. "I need to use your phone. Mine died." I watched the recording timer tick upward. The sound of his voice came clearly through the microphone. Then something happened that made my stomach twist. The voice paused, like someone had stopped reading a script. And then it spoke again. Different now. Still calm, but closer. More intimate. "You recorded last time." My blood turned to ice. I hadn't told anyone I tried calling. I hadn't recorded last time. I hadn't even thought about recording until now. The voice chuckled softly. "You're learning," it said. "Good." My skin crawled. I stared at the door like it might open by itself. The voice continued, almost conversational now. "I like this one better. The quiet one. The one who doesn't open the door." I couldn't breathe right. "Do you know why I knock at 3?" the voice asked. I didn't answer. It didn't matter. It kept going. "Because at 3, people are honest," it said. "At 3, you're alone, even if you're not. At 3, you don't have the energy to pretend." A pause. "And at 3, you listen." I gripped my phone so hard my fingers hurt. Then, from the hallway, I heard something else. Not the voice, not the knock. Another sound, faint at first, like a whisper of rubber on carpet. Footsteps, multiple, moving closer. The polite voice sighed, as if disappointed. "You didn't open it," it said, "so we brought the door to you." My heart slammed against my ribs. The lock shifted. Not the deadbolt, something lower. The chain. No, the chain was inside. It couldn't be moved from outside. Then I realized they weren't moving my locks. They were moving my doorframe. A low groan of wood, like pressure. Like someone pressing something flat against the door, forcing it inward, not by brute force, but by leverage. I backed away, stumbling into the kitchen. My hands fumbled for the skillet again. Ridiculous and useless. The door creaked, not opening, but bending, complaining. Then, silence. Everything stopped at once. No pressure, no footsteps, no voice. I stood there, shaking, waiting for the next sound. And then my phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Look through the peephole. My throat closed. My mind screamed not to, but my body, stupid and curious, moved on its own. I approached the door slowly, like walking toward a cliff you already know you shouldn't jump from. My hand hovered near the chain lock. My other hand held the skillet. Pointless comfort. I leaned in, and I saw nothing. An empty hallway, no shadows, no crouching figure, no polite man. Just the corridor, lit by that dim emergency bulb. My breath caught. Then my phone buzzed again. You looked. The hallway light flickered once, subtle. And for a split second, in the warped glass of the peephole, I saw my own eye staring back at me. Not reflected, not distorted, staring, from the other side. I jerked away so hard I slammed my shoulder into the wall. The phone buzzed one final time. Now you heard me. Now I can wait. I didn't sleep after that. I didn't sit with the lights on. I didn't try to be brave. I packed a bag in 10 minutes and left my apartment before dawn, walking out into the freezing street with my breath tearing out of my lungs and my heart still trying to escape my chest. I stayed with Mark for a week. Then I found a different place across town. I moved without telling my building manager where I was going. I changed my number. I deleted my voicemail greeting. I stopped posting anything online that could be traced to me. For months, nothing happened. The silence started to feel almost safe. Then, one night, I was half asleep on my new couch when my phone buzzed. One vibration. No notification. I sat up instantly. The lock screen lit the room. 3 o'clock. A text message appeared. No number. Just a blank sender. Did you miss me? I didn't wait for a knock. I didn't wait for footsteps. I stood up, walked to my front door, and checked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. Locked. I stepped back, phone shaking in my hand. Then, from somewhere inside the apartment behind me, I heard 3 soft taps. Not on the door, on the wall, right behind my head. And that's when I understood what the police officer meant the first night. Even if he didn't know, he'd said it. The danger wasn't the door. The danger was listening. Because once you hear it, it doesn't need the hallway anymore. It doesn't need the lock. It doesn't need the building. It just needs you to recognize the pattern. 3 taps. At 3. And a voice that sounds ordinary, polite, almost believable, because it knows you don't open doors for monsters. You open them for people who sound like they need help. I never opened it, but I still heard it. And now every night when the world goes quiet enough, I catch myself holding my breath, waiting to find out whether the next knock will come from the hallway or from inside the room.